Okay, now again, finding the inverse of each relation is really, really simple. All right. Now, when we talk about inverses, and again, you're going to study inverse a lot. There's a really cool button on your calculator that will help you with the inverses as well. So you can graph inverses with the calculator, but really and truly, it's unnecessary. It's completely unnecessary. All right, because it's that simple. All right. So when you are finding the inverse, listen, when you're finding the inverse, all you're doing is switching the x and the y. All right, that's all you're doing. You're switching the x and the y. All right. Now, right now, I think it's hard to understand exactly why we need the inverse, but we do. All right. And so, again, right now I'm just teaching you how to do the inverse, and then we will go further into detail about why the inverse is necessary. All right. So if you take a look at number 1, the inverse would just be what? Negative 15 comma what?
4.
4. All right. So the inverse would be negative 15 comma 4. And then it would be negative 18 comma negative 8. And then it would be negative 16.5 negative 2. And then we would have negative 15.25 comma 3. Thank you, by the way. That is it. Honestly, that's it. All right. No. All I'm asking you is, remember, right now when we start out here, generally the first couple questions are kind of easy. It gets a little bit harder as we go down. But to do the inverse, all you're doing is you're just switching the x and y. That's it. All right. So now, this question number 1 is written as a set of ordered pairs. This is set as a table. All right. So again, all we're doing is what? Switching the x and y's. So what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to make a table. And I would like for you to make the same exact table, x and y. And then I would like for you, where the x is on top now, you're just going to list what? These numbers, right? And for the y, you're going to list out the what? You're going to list out the x's. Is everybody okay with that? Now, in a second, I will tell you exactly how I want you to handle question 3 and 4. So we have it as a table, and we have it as a set of ordered pairs. Now we're going to move into the graph. All right. What I would like for you to do is, I'd like for you to identify 2 points that are on the graph. That's it. 2 points that are on the graph. And again, it almost kind of would be easy if you had this on your iPad sometimes, but just make yourself a quick little x and y axis. All right. And then what I want you to do is, these are 2 points that are on the graph. And actually, I'm going to put 3 points that are on the graph just because I can see those 3 points. All right. So 0, 2 is on the graph. Negative 5, 1 is on the graph. And 5, 1 is on the graph. I sent the cavalry out to find you.
Yeah.
Just to let you know that. Shh. No one's... All right. So those would be points that are on the graph. Do you agree with that? So to do the inverse, it would just be what? 2, 0, 1, negative 5, and 1, 5. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and print that out as 2, 0, 1, negative 5, wait a minute, this is 5, 3, I'm sorry guys. Not 5, 1, but 5, 3. Change that.
I was actually about.
You're right, you're right. And then this would be, thank you, it'd be 3, 5. So now 1, 2, 3, 5 up here. And as you can tell now, it just creates another line. All right, that's all. It just creates another line. Yes.
So will that match up?
It's not necessarily matches up. All right, it doesn't match up. But what does happen is this. We say it's symmetrical about the line y equals x. It's symmetrical about the line y equals x. All right. Now, you know what I'm thinking about? No, let's do. I'm gonna pass out some graph paper. Okay, I have some graph paper here. That I want you to do this on. All right, I think it's important. All right, so once you get a graph paper, I want you to graph number 4. All right. Plus, it will be helpful because some of you guys on your test could have done a better job graphing a lot. Okay. Here we go. All right. And then just put this in with your notes. All right. All right, you're welcome. Okay, so again, that should be kind of easy for you. All right, it should be kind of easy. So let's go ahead now, and let's just go ahead and take a look at question number 4. All right, we're going to take a look at question number 4. All right. Now, the absolute easiest way to graph the inverse is the first thing we're going to do is we're going to identify 2 points that are on the line, here and here. So I want everybody to identify that. I don't just put it in the garbage. -2, 1, and then 2, -2. Those are 2 points that are on the graph. Come on now, this is what I'm talking about. You're going to make an A student. That means all the other stuff you got to ignore. That goes for everybody who's sitting at a B. If you're distracted because somebody walks in the room, that's why you're at a B. All right, that's why you're not at an A. You can stay focused just because somebody walked in the door. Now, again, does everybody identify -2, 1, 2, -2? So everybody plot those 2 points and just make yourself a quick line. All right, and then that will represent what? That'll represent that line. Does anybody have any questions with what I just said? You're just graphing this blue line on your paper, and then we're going to find the inverse. Everybody good? All right. So that's the original line. Now we're going to graph the inverse. Now we're going to graph the inverse. So I'm going to change colors, right? And now to graph the inverse. What 2 points are on the inverse, the line of the inverse? Tell me. Yes, 1, -2, and? Yes, so now graph those. 1, -2, and -2, 2. And now what we're going to do is we're going to graph that line. Right? And that would be the inverse. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color of it because I want you to see it. -2, 2 again. All right. Then after you do that, guys, what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to graph y equals x. And I'm trying to get you to understand that it's the reflection of that. All right. So here's what I'm trying to show you. All right, kind of look at what I'm saying now. And it's a good visual problem. It's a good visual. So if I were to reflect this right here, this blue part on the right side, And if I reflect that over y equals x, it's going to be the what? It's going to be the green line. It's going to be the green line. All right? If I take this line right here, this blue line, and I reflect it over y equals x, it's going to look like the what? The green line. Or I know that's kind of hard to see. All right, but that's what an inverse is. We say it is symmetrical with the line y equals x. All right, and again, that's hard to visualize. Some are better than others. All right, but you can take, if I reflect this blue line over this green line, it becomes the what? It becomes the green line. If I reflect this part of the blue line, it becomes what? That green line. All right? So generally on standardized tests, that's one of the questions that comes up. All right? The inverse is symmetrical about what line? And we would say it is symmetrical about the line y equals x. Any questions? All right? Again, pretty straightforward. All right? Pretty straightforward. Not a whole lot to understand, Connor. All right? Even though you've been out a while, this is something you can jump right into and know nothing about what we did the last couple of days and still be able to pick this up. All right? So now, that is the example of how to find the inverse from a set of ordered pairs, from a table, and from a graph. All right? We have one more thing we have to do. Now we have to find the inverse. We have to find the inverse given the equation of the line. Given the equation of the line. So I'm going to give myself a little bit more room here to work. So I'm just going to pull 5 down to the bottom. All right. So again, for what I need you to do now, just write the equation. Now, bless you, bless you. So right now, f of x. I'm trying to get you to remember that f of x is the same as what variable? F of x is the same as saying what variable?
Y.
Very good, y. All right? So what I'd like everybody to do now is instead of writing f of x, but I want everybody to write f of x first because I need you to know that f stands for what? No, well, it does stand for y, but function, thank you. F, they use f just because it's letting you know that it is a function. All right? So now that we have f of x, we're going to convert it to y equals, and just write negative 2x plus 7. All right. Now, to find the inverse, what did I tell you how to do? Switch the x and y. Now look, it doesn't change just because we changed the form. Now listen to what you said. You said switch the x and y. So how would I find this inverse? I haven't told you how to do it, but just listen to your own words. You switch the what? Switch the what? You switch the x and the y. Switch the x and y. You didn't listen to your words. That's why I'm telling you. Listen to what your mouth is saying. You said, I switched the x and the y. So what's the equation of the inverse? There you go. X equals what? Yes, that's what I'm saying. Listen to yourself. You said you switched the x and y. That's how you find the inverse. So all I did was I changed the y to a x, and I changed the x to a y. All right, now it's going to be real helpful for some of you guys who need some help from the last test. You need to solve for y. All right, so you need to solve for y. Is the y positive or negative right now? Negative. So I want to move the what? I'm going to move the y to the left side. If I move the y to the left side, it becomes what? Becomes positive what?
Positive
2y. Now, the 2y is on the side with the x. So now I have to move the what? So if I move the x from the left and put it to the right, it becomes what? Negative. So 2y equals negative x plus 7. We're almost there. divided by 2. Now, when you divide it by 2, here's what I want you to write it, or here's how I want you to write it. Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 7 halves. Now, look, some people on the test didn't know what to do with x over 2. When I divide x by 2, that's the same as what? 1/2 x. All right, I need you to make sure you understand that for your fractions. Half of x is the same as x over 2. All right, now there's a symbolism to show that you found the inverse. All right, and here's the symbolism. You write f of negative 1 of x equals negative 1/2 x plus 7 over 2. So this f to the negative 1 is not really an exponent. It's the symbol for what? Inverse. All right, so now originally we had f of x is equal to negative 2x plus 7. You switch the x and y and you solve for y. And the reason why I think today's a really good day is because some of you guys did have a little trouble solving for y. All right, any questions with the symbolism? Now, most people, when they look at the symbolism, this f negative 1, they think it's tricky or it's hard. It has nothing to do with being difficult or hard. It has everything to do with, do you understand symbols in math? It looks complicated. It's not. It's just a symbol for what? We found the inverse. We found the inverse. Anybody have any questions? All right. So let's try one more real quick. Let's go back to question number 6. All right. And let's bring it back down just so it's easier to see. More room. All right. Now we have a fraction, so you got to be careful. All right. So now, switching the x and the y, I end up with x equals 2/3 what? Y plus 6. Okay, now remember, some kids were having trouble explaining when I move the y and when I move the x. All right, so in this case, is the y positive?
Yes.
So that stays put. We don't move it. We're going to move the what? We're going to move the 6. Thank you very much. We're moving the 6 because we're trying to isolate the y. So you're visualizing, I'm moving the 6 to the what side? Left. All right. Now, that leaves what? The y isolated. So now, I know we're doing a lot. Now I have it as 2/3 y equals what? X minus 6. Beautiful. 2/3 y equals x minus 6. Any questions? All right. Now again, fractions. Don't be confused. We've talked about it a lot. To isolate the y with a fraction, you multiply by the reciprocal. What's the reciprocal?
3/2.
So now you can just put on your paper y equals 3/2. Now, you're multiplying everything by 3/2. That's why you need a what? Parentheses. All right? Now we're going to work on distributing the 3 halves. All right? So in a second, I'm going to ask you what 3 halves times negative 6 is, and you better be ready. Y equals 3 halves x. What's 3 halves times 6? Negative, which is? Yeah, so you guys, now again, we're going to talk about it one more time. For whatever reason, that's a difficult thing. If you want, you can always just go 3 times 6 divided by 2. But if I have big numbers, that's more difficult. Then, again, what is the fraction bar? What does the fraction bar mean? Division. So you can do 6 divided by 2 first instead of multiply. If you divide, the numbers become smaller, which makes it easier for you to manage. So what's 6 divided by 2? 3 times 3. Does everybody agree it's the same answer? So now you have one of two choices. You can either, remember what I'm telling you, if you can divide, you should divide first and then multiply. If you don't like that, you just say what? Multiply and then divide. Tell me.
So when you divide your number by the bottom, you just have that.
100% correct. So you are doing this. 3 times 6 divided by 2. The order doesn't matter. You can say 6 divided by 2. I could do 3 divided by 2 if 3 was divisible by 2, but it's not. All right, so now you need to write symbolism. So f -1 of x equals 3 halves x minus 9. Everybody happy with that? All right. Now, something I generally don't do, but I think it's important for you because I'm trying to get you to use your calculator and be more comfortable with the calculator. All right? So what I want to do now is I really want you to listen to me because I'm going to show you another cool button on your calculator, all right, that most people don't know exists or is on there. But if you know it's on there, it could save you some time. All right? And this, remember, just goes back to your standardized test. So what I want everybody to do is I need everybody to go to y equals first. Now look, if you're not with me, you're going to ask me a bunch of questions in a minute. All right? Now, I don't want the calculator to plot points. So I have to turn that function off. So to turn that function off, you go to y equals, and then you go to the top and turn it off. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? All right? Then that will avoid all the dimension mismatch errors. Got it? Okay. Now, has everybody turned that off, correct? Now, the next thing we're going to go is, because we've been working with a different home screen, right, where we had the zoom stat, right, we want to go back to a normal screen. So you have to hit the zoom, and then you have to hit the standard. And when you hit zoom standard, that just turns it into a what? Regular, what are the dimensions of regular mean? That's right, it's a 10 by 10 screen. All right, so it's -10 to 10 and -10 to 10 for the x and y. Is everybody with me on that? Yes. You go to y, yours are turned off. It's turned off because I looked at the top and it wasn't gray, right, or black. Okay, now I need everybody to hit the second button, and then I need you to hit quit. Now, if you ever have any trouble, you can hit second quit, and that takes you to the home screen. Is everybody with me on that? Yeah. All right. So now, what I want you to do is we are going to draw the inverse. We're going to draw the inverse. All right. So under that, here's what I need you to do. Second, hit the second button. Now, there's a draw program that is located D-R-A-W. Yes, program. So hit the second draw. Does everybody see that? Now, we are going to draw, and this is where if you want, you can draw horizontal and verticals, but we're going to do that. We want to draw, go down until it's INV. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Draw INV. What do you think draw INV means? Draw the inverse. So you hit that button. Okay? Now, what you're going to do is you're going to, let's just draw the inverse of 2/3 x plus 6. So you literally type in 2 divided by 3, hit the x, then you hit plus 6. Now, we are not graphing it. That's the mistake people make. We're not graphing it. Everybody hear me? We're not graphing it. So if you say draw inverse and then you type it in and hit graph, nothing's going to happen. After you hit the 2/3 x plus 6, you have to hit what? Enter. And once you hit enter, it now draws the inverse on the graph for you. All right? Now, to kind of show you that that's the inverse, this is the important thing that I want in your brain. I want you to go to y equals. Everybody go to y equals. And I want everybody now to type in the original function, which was 2/3 x plus 6. Everybody with me on that? And now hit graph. And so now what you see is you see both lines. Now let me know, all right, if you're having a little bit issue. And then I'm going to show you something else. Okay, you forgot to hit zoom standard. Go to zoom standard. That's right. Zoom 6. Now you're in the right screen. Now, let me say one other thing real quick now, because if you change your screen, hear me, listen, I'll help you in just a second. If you change your screen, listen to what I'm saying, the draw will be erased. Or because some kids go, I can't, because you can't get the draw out unless you clear the draw. All right, and I'll show you how to do that. Or you change the screen. So now, go back to second quit. Now, if you want to repeat a command, watch. If you want to repeat a command, you can hit second entry, and now hit enter again. And it'll come up. And now you draw your inverse. All right? Okay, now the last little thing I want you to do, 1 second, Hanson. Are you able to draw it, or are you having trouble?
I mean, it did this weird.
All right, let me look real quick.
I typed it in for the y equals and
Okay, because you messed with this over here. All right, you changed that to the
It should be 2/3 x. That's how I got that.
Just put on one.
I got the same thing.
Yes, that's it. All right, now the last thing, listen to me, the last thing that'll kind of help you, just to see it, because I want everybody to see the symmetry. All right, so I want everybody to, after you type that under y1, I want you under y2 to type y equals x. Just type in x. And then when you graph x, you'll be able to see the symmetry. And then show me, I want to see it. All right, so now if you reflect it over that line, y equals x, you should be able to see. All right, yes, you made a mistake on yours somehow. Go to draw inverse and type in 2/3 x plus 6. Do you see how it's perfect? You see the symmetry. Symmetry, perfect. Yes, symmetry. Let me see yours. Yeah, no, just y equals x. Y equals x. Just y equals x. Remember, it's symmetrical. It's symmetrical with the line y equals x. Now what?
How do you draw?
Okay, so second draw inverse. Now go down to where it says G-R-A-W-I.
You don't have to delete it. You can just type over it.
And now hit enter. Does it say draw INV up there? Now you type in 2/3 x plus 6. All right, I want to see, because I want to make sure everybody's doing it. You got to put the inverse in now. There should be this. This is what your calculator should look like. So you should have 3 lines on your calculator.
I messed up my first one and I just redid it.
Yeah, now you're good. Okay, so is that the draw, right?
Yeah.
So remember, okay, guys, here's something else now, because again, I want you to be able to eliminate the draw, right? So go to second draw, and then there should be a clear draw on there.
Yes, this is the
There's
first one.
first one, hit enter, and then that clears all your drawings out. Is everybody with me? And then if you made a mistake, you just now go back and draw the inverse. All right, now I'm trying to tell you something, guys. The power of the calculator is truly amazing. All right, and it's funny because I say you can use your calculator on the test, and most of you guys didn't even bother checking your work. You know, like when I said write the equation line given the 2 points, you can type those 2 points in under stat and have the calculator just tell you what the answer is. You don't have to do any math. Right? Does everybody hear what I'm saying? Right? So if ever you have to write the equation of the line given 2 points, the calculator will do it for you. All right, but those are the things you got to think about. All right, the same thing here. All right, I'm not asking you, it's not difficult to draw the inverse, everybody agree with me? It's just something that along the line you may forget. But if you're familiar with the calculator, you might be able to refresh your memory just off of the calculator. So, no, because it's already gone. It's already, there's 2, it's supposed to graph 2. The third one's not there because you cleared it. You with me on that, right? So you're supposed to have 1 under y1, a graph under y2, and the third graph was from the drawing. You with me on that? All right. Now, again, fantastic day as far as the calculator goes. All right. And again, you should try to check your work. That's what I'm hoping you can do. All right. Now, if I'm not mistaken, if we go back now, I think I've explained everything to you. Now, what I want you to do is, I don't care really about number 7 right now, although that is the application. I don't care about the application at this moment. I just really care about making sure that you understand the inverses. All right, and if I look down here now, guys, it should be pretty standard. I don't really care about 20 or 21. All right, but that's just practice. All right, now, honestly, your assignment then, let's just go ahead and fix your assignment. So at the top of your paper, just putting 8 through 19, and 22 through 27. 22 through 27. All right. Now, the other thing I'm trying to tell some of you guys who are edging your way up towards being really good, you're at 80. You're still not happy with an 80. All right. And I've always told you, sometimes it's not fair because the people who are making the A's, it seems like they don't have to work as hard. That's not always true. All right, they're doing more work, actually. But if you want to inch your way up, instead of doing, less, do more. Right? I'm specifically talking about inverses today. All right, if you really want to make an A, if you're set on the goal is to make an A, IXL has everything, all the explanation of inverses. I'm probably not going to assign it. But if you really want to make sure you understand something, then you need to double check with IXL. The other thing you got to keep in mind too is I keep posting the solutions. I'm not sure how many people are checking the solutions, but the solutions are posted. Every single time you do homework, you should have check marks on all of your problems because you did what? You checked them, right? You can't come to class tomorrow and say, oh, I'm going to say, okay, who had any questions? And you're going to say, well, not me. If it's not you, that means you checked all the answers and you did all the homework and you have no questions. You don't know, some of you, if you have questions or not because you don't know if you did the problems correct. That's why I post the solutions. Is everybody with me? So you need to get in the habit of double checking and verifying. What do you guys tell me? It's about time to go. What time's the bell ring? 9:05. All right, so we got 3 minutes. All right, take care of it, guys. Take care of it. Double check your answers. Yes. Yes, we're going to start. Oh, and by the way, it's not mandatory, but for some of you guys who are 80s and you're moving your way up, you don't have to come all period. Just come for 15 minutes and let me explain something to you. All right? So I'm not sure if we're going to start today, but it is possible. So choice today, Wednesday, for those of you guys who are struggling a little bit, you want a little bit of extra help, come in and join. All right? And that'll be, like I said, I'm going to grab some of you and say it's mandatory. You're going to come in. All right? But those of you guys with A and B, I'm happy with you. I am talking to parents, and some of your parents, they want you to make an A. All right? It's one thing if you're working hard. It's another thing if you're being lazy. All right? I'll tell you what that is, which one you're being. All right, if you're not sure where you stand. All right, so get your homework done, please. Thank you.